what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So now that Sheldon Keefe has finally been fired by the Toronto Maple Leafs and Rick Bowness stepped down a couple days ago, there are 6 head coaching openings in the National Hockey League. So I thought it'd be a fun idea today to first rank all 6 of these, the 6 being Toronto, San Jose, Seattle, LA, Winnipeg, and New Jersey. Those are the 6. So we go through those 6. We rank them based on how attractive of a job I think they are, based on how good their core is, how good they are right now, how good their future is, based on those factors. And then I will give you my predictions on what coaches I think are going to end up where. I think we're going to see a lot of the usual recycling, but I have a couple bold picks for guys. So we're going to do that. We're going to dive right into it. And when looking at these 6 spots, I think that these are all decent coaching jobs. Even the one that I have last, I don't think is like a horrendous spot for a coach to end up. You're not going to like the Pittsburgh Penguins that look like they have no future, or the Washington Capitals. Like most of these either are rebuilding jobs or you can be easily in the playoffs next year. You're going to a playoff team. So when looking at it, up first, I think probably in 6th place is the Seattle Kraken. Not a bad job. This team did make the playoffs last year, but most of their core pieces, besides like Matty Beniers, are not that young. They're kind of stuck in a weird like transitional period, which is weird to say for an expansion team that started playing 2-3 years ago. So I don't think that they have like that high of a ceiling, but if some of their prospects hit, if Shane Wright can be a productive player soon, Jagger Furkis, Carson Rakoff, you could have a decent team on your hands in 2 to 3 years, but the next year or so, I don't think they're going to be competing at that high of a level, so I don't think it's that attractive. At 5th, I have the LA Kings. When looking at the LA Kings, they're a safe playoff team, but they're kind of stuck at that level. I don't know how they're going to get over that unless Brant Clark takes a massive step next season. Quinton Byfield becomes like a point per game guy. They're kind of stuck right now in especially the Pacific Division behind the Edmonton Oilers, in the Vancouver Canucks, and even the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm not too high on that job, but there's much worse spots in the NHL to be right now than the Los Angeles Kings. Number 4, Winnipeg Jets, same thing here. I don't think they're in the same tier as a Colorado or Dallas in the Central Division. We saw that with Colorado, but still, they have a very, very solid core. They're going to be a highly competitive team the next couple of years. Similarly to Seattle, if Brad Lambert, Colby Barlow, Rucker McGrody can be high impact players soon, and if they can move that defense core around, I think it could be a decent team. Maybe they could go on a run if Connor Hellebuyck balls out soon, but it's still a pretty solid job. 3rd place, the San Jose Sharks. This might be surprising, but after winning the draft lottery with Macklin Celebrini, I think if you're a coach heading to San Jose, you have a pretty long leash. You have some job security. I know David Quinn was fired after 2 seasons, but he was like the definition of a transitional coach that they didn't want to pay that much money to, and they're going to be deep in a rebuild. He helped them with the rebuild, but I think whoever they bring in next is going to be there for at least 3 years as they continue to build. And when looking at their young core, they have one of the brightest young cores in the entire NHL. So for a coach, you don't have that much pressure on you early, and if you can develop the pieces properly, you're going to have a high level team in 3 to 4 years. The second best, Toronto Maple Leafs. When looking at it, yes, they have not had the playoff success, but at the end of the day, they're going to be a playoff team time and time again. If you can unlock some of their players come playoff time, maybe you could go on a deep run finally. You still have a top 5 player in the entire world, as well as William Nylander, 100, or no, actually didn't have 100 points this year, but fantastic. There might be some changes with Mitch Marner this summer. Not the most ideal cap situation for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it still is a very good job. And then at first, pretty obvious, New Jersey Devils. When looking at them, even though they missed the playoffs last year, is mainly on goaltending, 112 points last year. Fantastic under 27 core. Basically all their high impact players outside of Dougie Hamilton are either in their mid or early 20s. So this is by far the best job on the market right now, in my opinion. Now, when looking at each of these spots, first up, we're going to go with Toronto. We got to go with the big dog first. I think they end up getting Craig Berube. When looking at it, that's obviously the rumor, the hype that is starting to build, although he has been linked to New Jersey. I think Toronto, I think MLSE is going to come in, and similarly to what they did in Babcock back in 2015, 2016, I think they're going to throw a bag at Craig Berube. They're not going to go for this inexperienced young coach. They're going to get a guy that has won at the highest level and has been a head coach for a long time. And when looking at Craig Berube, he had some head coaching experience prior to St. Louis, wins the Stanley Cup in 2019, and was a very good team in 2020 and 2022. It's not like he just won that cup in 2019 and then the Blues were horrible throughout that. The last 2 years were rough, but there was a ton of roster turnover, especially at last year's deadline. Their core just got up there in age. I don't really think that was that much on Berube. And when looking at Berube, he's a very stern, very serious coach. I think he can whip this group into shape and maybe turn them into high-level contenders. So I think Craig Berube is heading to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would be my guess right now. Next up, the San Jose Sharks. This one might be a little bit out there. I understand why people might criticize this, but if you're familiar with the college hockey game, I have David Carl heading to the San Jose Sharks. When looking at David Carl, he's kind of like, for my football fans, he's kind of like the Sean McVay of the hockey world. He got the Denver University head, was it University of Denver? I don't know, whichever. He coaches for Denver. He got the head coaching job at 28 years old. 28 years old. After Jim Montgomery left to go join the Dallas Stars back in 2018, he got the gig, and he was fantastic. He had him in the top 10 consistently, then wins the national championship in 2022, as well as 2024, as well as coaching the U.S. World Juniors team to gold this year. He has won He has won at not every single level, but he has been extremely successful in the college, in the international tournament landscape since he got to Denver in 2018. So yes, he is a little bit young, but now he's more seasoned. He's 34 years old. You weren't going to hire him back in like 2022, maybe when he was 32, but he's starting to get up there in age. He'd be older than, especially in San Jose, than basically all the players. So I think that this would be a good opportunity for San Jose to give him a 4 to 5 year deal. Just say, this is going to be your team. You're going to mold this core. You're a fantastic coach. And if you're Carl, yes, it's not maybe the most ideal in terms of winning now, but you wouldn't have that pressure that if you go to a New Jersey and you kind of stink early on, they're going to can your ass. San Jose, you'd grow with that group. You get Will Smith. You call up Will Smith and be like, yo, we beat you in the national title. Come play for me in San Jose immediately. Sign that ELC. And you just grow with Celebrini and Smith, a young coach with those two young, fantastic players. I think that this would be a fantastic fit for the San Jose Sharks. In David Carl, again, don't know if he even has any interest in coaching in the NHL. I'm just kind of speculating, but I think out of all of that, if you're David Carl, I understand you like the stability of your Denver job. I think you'd have a lot of stability in San Jose. The Seattle Kraken up next. I tweeted it out this morning, but I said Sheldon Keefe to the Seattle Kraken wouldn't be the worst hire ever. Now, when looking at the Seattle Kraken, last year 100 points, this year drops down all the way to 81 points. They're looking for a guy that can elevate their group in the regular season. Yes, Sheldon Keefe might not be that championship winning coach. He's gotten outcoached most series that he's played in the playoffs. But if the Seattle Kraken want to yet again be a successful team, I think Sheldon Keefe has proved himself at least a very good regular season coach. Seattle is not cup or bust right now, so Sheldon Keefe can come in. He plays a pretty solid system. He can elevate that group and maybe have them back in the playoffs as soon as next year. It's a safe hire. I don't think Seattle's really going to go that bold with their hiring process and out of the reused coaches. I think Sheldon Keefe would be a good coach for them to kind of stumble upon. Next up, the LA Kings. Dean Evison, look at this guy. Look how serious he is. Dean Evison, more of a defensive, high-intensity kind of guy. I think that's a good fit in LA, given their personnel. They're not the most offensively dynamic team in the NHL. We saw it this year, them running the goddamn 1-3-1. I wouldn't be doing that exactly, but I think it can work in LA if Byfield continues to develop, if Clark continues to develop. I think with a guy like Dean Evison that could be successful. When looking at Dean Evison's track record, it was very good in Minnesota. His first full season, or his first full year as the head coach, not a full season because it was only 56 games, but he had 75 points in 56 games during the COVID-shortened season for the Minnesota Wild, then 113, then 103 last year. And this year, the goaltending kind of sold him down the river to start the season. They weren't that good, but he was getting like 885 goaltending. They fire him. I think Dean Evison to the LA Kings would be a pretty solid fit, and he maybe could elevate that group to get into the top 2 of the Pacific Division right now, right in the regular season, and get home ice, and then maybe have a better fate come playoff time. The Winnipeg Jets, next up, second to last. Winnipeg Jets, I have them hiring their current associate head coach, Scott Arundel. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Scott Arundel, whatever. But when looking at Scott Arundel, this guy has been the associate head coach in Winnipeg for a couple years. Rick Bowness he didn't go down, but he stepped away from the team because his wife was unfortunately dealing with some health stuff mid-season, and the Winnipeg Jets did not miss a beat. In fact, they played better under Scott. I'm going to just call him Scott because I don't know if I'm botching this last name, but they played better under him than under Bowness. They went 9-2-2. If you're Winnipeg, I'm not sure if you can attract any of these massive names. I think that's just the nature of the Winnipeg market, but I think he would be a very good head coaching option for them. He was very, very good assistant for them. He does have some experience from when he coached in the Columbus Blue Jackets back in like 2010, 2011. He wasn't that successful, but again, that was a decade ago. I'm sure he's learned from his mistakes since then, so I think this would be a pretty seamless transition. Stay the current route. I think they do need to massively change that defense core, the actual roster, but I think Scott would be a pretty good head coaching option for the Winnipeg Jets. And then lastly, the New Jersey Devils, I have them hiring Jay Woodcroft. I think that this would be very interesting to see. Right now, it's rumored that they are the front runners to land Craig Berube. Again, I'm saying that the Toronto Maple Leafs throw an absolute bag at Berube, and he just really can't turn it down, which I don't blame him. But when looking at it, I think the Devils and Woodcroft would be a very good fit. Woodcroft knows how to play, knows how to coach, high end offensive, fantastic skating forwards like a Jack Hughes, like a Brat, like a Heischer. So I think he has experience with that. He would be able to coach well with the Jack Hughes. And if you're Woodcroft, you're not going to get much better of a job than the New Jersey Devils. I think if they call you up, you kind of got to accept that. And his coaching record is very good. Even when you factor in this season where he started like 3-9-1, he has a career 79-41-13 record, which is a 105-point pace. Woodcroft might be a little bit hesitant to take this job considering like Evason, he got screwed with bad goaltending. Devils' goaltending situation isn't that ideal, but I think he would be a very good fit, more of a player's coach than, say, Lindy Ruff, and play with a higher tempo. And as a result, yes, he's maybe not the best defensive coach, but I think he'd have a better defensive system or defensive roster in place with Nemitz, Hughes, Seamus Casey's very good, Dougie Hamilton, John Marino. It's not the same as Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci being your second pair, so I think his defense would be better. That's his number one critique, but that's who I'd have coaching the New Jersey Devils. So, Berube to the Leafs, Carl to the Sharks, Keefe to the Keefe to the Kraken. Yep, Evason to the Kings, Arnold to the Jets, staying with the Jets, and then Woodcroft to the Devils. And then in terms of what are the best jobs, Devils, Leafs, Sharks, Winnipeg Jets, Kings, and the Kraken. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about this? I'm sure a lot of the guys that are going to get hired are going to be reused guys. I don't even think that Carl's probably not going to make the NHL jump, but I thought it'd be a fun idea, him going to San Jose. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? And I'll be seeing the next one.